The defendant in this case is a sentence so seductive it almost cross-examines you back. What if your suffering was chosen by your soul before you were born? Not metaphorically, not as poetry, literally selected as coursework in something Mayim Bialik's breakdown calls Earth School. That is the video's real claim, and it matters because it doesn't just reframe death. It reassigns meaning to illness, heartbreak, disability, grief, and bad luck. So the question isn't whether the episode is comforting. It is. The question is whether it earns that comfort with evidence, or whether it wraps a brutal idea in enough ancient references and near-death testimony that the audience stops asking who benefits from calling suffering a lesson. To the show's credit, it doesn't hide the ambition. Right out of the intro, it lays out the package. People allegedly choose their lives before birth, undergo life reviews after death, and return from near-death experiences convinced that pain had a purpose. Then the episode widens the lens and says Plato, Tibetan traditions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Kabbalah, early Christian ideas, and modern NDE research may all be pointing to the same architecture of reality. That is not a modest thesis. That is a merger proposal between comparative religion, anecdotal testimony, and consciousness research. And once you make a claim that big, you inherit a burden this video only partly meets. You have to distinguish pattern from proof. The strongest evidence the episode has is not scientific at all. It's anthropological and narrative. Across different traditions, you do see recurring motifs. The soul survives bodily death. Earthly life has a moral purpose. Memory is obscured. Suffering can function as development rather than punishment. And death is followed by review or reckoning. The video is right to notice that. It's also right to take near-death reports seriously as human documents. When many experiencers independently describe panoramic life review, radical interconnectedness, and a sense that ordinary life mattered more than they realized, that is worth discussing. It tells us something important about how human beings metabolize mortality, guilt, love, and regret. Where the episode becomes slippery is when those recurrences are treated less like recurring stories and more like corroborating witnesses to the same event. Take the Plato section on the myth of air. This is one of the better parts of the video because it uses a very old text to show that the idea of souls choosing future lives is not a new age invention from last Tuesday. Fine, but in court, Exhibit A would still be exactly what it is, a philosophical myth inside the Republic, not a field report from the afterlife. Plato uses stories to think about justice, moral responsibility, and the shape of a good life. The episode sometimes presents that as if it were historical corroboration for pre-birth soul contracts. It isn't. At most, it proves that the human imagination has been trying to make moral sense of suffering for a very long time. That's interesting. It's also much weaker than the video's tone suggests. Now we get to the morally strange part. If Earth is a school and souls chose the syllabus, then what exactly follows from that when the syllabus includes abuse, psychosis, war, childhood cancer, or a life crushed by poverty? The episode gestures at this delicately. Why suffering may be a lesson, not a punishment, but the distinction doesn't solve the problem. It relocates it. Calling pain a lesson can be humane when someone is trying to survive the unbearable. It can also become a cosmic victim-blaming machine with nicer wallpaper. The video never really wrestles with that danger. It prefers the emotionally survivable version of the theory that adversity is meaningful. But meaning and consent are not the same thing, and this premise smuggles consent into tragedies where consent is exactly what is missing. This is where the evidence gets interesting and then immediately overstates itself. Around the modern research section, the episode invokes near-death investigators and consciousness studies to imply that mainstream materialism may be incomplete. Fair enough. Researchers like Bruce Grayson and Raymond Moody belong in this conversation if the topic is how people report NDEs and what those reports have in common. But notice the move the video makes. It starts with a defensible claim. These experiences are psychologically and phenomenologically striking, and glides toward a much harder one. Therefore, consciousness survives death, and therefore the Earth School framework might be true. That bridge is mostly mood, not masonry. NDEs can be profound without functioning as proof of reincarnation, pre-birth planning, or a cosmic curriculum committee. The reincarnation material about children remembering previous lives is another place where the episode earns attention and loses precision. The cases associated with Jim Tucker and Ian Stevenson are among the most serious pieces of evidence available if you want to argue that memory may exceed one lifetime. They are specific, sometimes eerie, and harder to dismiss than generic ghost stories. The show is right to include them, but the standard of proof here matters. These cases raise questions. They do not settle metaphysics. You still have contamination problems, selection effects, memory distortion, cultural expectation, investigator bias, and the basic issue that extraordinary claims need extraordinary elimination of ordinary explanations. The video treats these cases as if they tighten the Earth School thesis. Really, they only make survival or reincarnation slightly less easy to laugh off. There's also a comparative religion problem hiding in plain sight. The episode bundles Buddhism, Hinduism, Kabbalah, Christianity, Plato, and modern NDE accounts into one spiritual coalition, but those systems do not agree as neatly as the montage implies. Karma is not the same thing as soul-chosen lesson plans. Buddhist rebirth is not automatically a personalized self-help curriculum. Kabbalistic soul repair has a different theological grammar from Platonic soul selection. Early Christian debates about resurrection and reincarnation are not interchangeable with YouTube spirituality about choosing your challenges. The video knows enough to cite these traditions, but not enough to keep them from being flattened into one megadoctrine whose main job is reassuring the modern viewer that their pain fits a plan. Still, I don't want to underrate what the episode does well, because it does something a lot of pseudo-profound content refuses to do. It tries to build a genealogy for its ideas. It gives names, traditions, chapters, and researchers. It doesn't just say energy and wave incense at the camera. There's a genuine attempt to show that people across centuries have wrestled with the same existential questions. And Bialik's on-camera presence helps here. The studio conversation is calm rather than evangelical. The footage keeps cutting back from dreamy cosmic imagery to a desk, microphones, books, and a host trying to reason her way through the material. That matters because the presentation tells the audience, we're investigating, not preaching. My issue is that the investigation is more sympathetic than adversarial. The show interviews the theory like a friend, not a hostile witness. Even the visuals reveal the strategy. The keyframes bounce between podcast studio intimacy and soft-focused transcendence. Water, light, silhouettes, temples, maps, the kind of imagery that makes an argument feel older and holier than it may actually be. I'm not complaining about atmosphere. I'm saying atmosphere is doing evidentiary work here. The cosmic cutaways smooth over every time the episode leaps from many people report this to maybe this is how reality works. That's not a neutral stylistic choice. It's a way of lowering the viewer's guard exactly when the reasoning gets thin. And here is the question I wish the video had asked itself with more cruelty. Who benefits from the Earth School framing? For a grieving person, maybe it offers relief, structure, and a reason to stay alive through chaos. That is not trivial, but the same framing can also anesthetize outrage. If suffering is curriculum, then injustice risks becoming spiritually rebranded fate. Structural cruelty gets personalized into growth opportunities. The video doesn't explicitly say that, but it walks close enough to the cliff that it owes the audience a warning sign. Meaning can save people. Meaning can also domesticate reality until avoidable pain starts looking sacred. So my verdict, as a map of recurring spiritual ideas about death, suffering, and the continuity of consciousness, this episode is thoughtful, unusually coherent, and often worth your time. As an argument that your soul chose this life, and that Earth is literally a school for pre-selected lessons, it is overstated. The evidence does not fail completely. It just does less work than the narration wants it to do. What the episode really proves is that human beings hate the idea of meaningless suffering so much that we will build cathedrals of interpretation around it. Plato in one room, NDE testimony in another, reincarnation cases in the basement, and a modern wellness audience in the lobby. If you want the next verdict when another beautiful explanation turns out to have a hidden assumption, stay close. There are plenty more witnesses to cross-examine.